All right, all right, all right. I'm not Matthew McConaughey. I'm Marsh Makes Comics. But here we are. What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's been a couple weeks. I know. Sorry, but life, things, busyness. Things happen. But hey, that's all right, right? We got to live our best lives. So today we're going to talk about the fact that you don't even need to make comics to make comics. That sounds stupid, probably because it is. Um, but hey, you know what? I have a point. There's something to what I'm saying. Obviously, you have to make comics, but maybe there's an easier entry point to making comics than actually taking on the overwhelming task of making your first comic like I did many years ago with this particular comic. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. And we'll get into some sketching as well. We're gonna just hang out with everybody, with you guys, and hope you guys enjoy this. I think there's some interesting, inspiring things that will happen in this episode, and yeah. Um, I know that I said my next video is probably going to be a more edited, uploaded video, not a live stream. But unfortunately, things just don't always work out exactly the way you plan it. That's still the plan, but it's been about 2 weeks since put out my last video. I did put out two videos in 1 week, so that's cool. But it's been about 2 weeks, and I'm like, I can't. To me, it feels weird when I haven't gotten a chance to connect with you guys for that long. That's a long time for me. So I wanted to connect, and I've been digging into something the last couple days that I think is pretty interesting. It's not far at all from what we've talked about in the past, but it's just another little angle into the world of making comics that is exciting, fun, inspiring, and all that jazz. Um, so that being said, let's see who's in here. We got Farmer Fox in here. What is up? Thank you for coming by. Came in early. I'm not sure if you're still here, but hey, if you're not, cool. That's cool too. Thanks for chiming in. Everybody, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe if you haven't already. We come here with some good content, I think, and I think it's worth subscribing to. But if you don't, hey, that's cool. If you're a lurker, if you just like to watch once in a while, or this is your first time, that's cool too. Welcome. We welcome all. What's up, the other comic guy? How you doing? Boom. How you doing? Thanks for coming by. Donovan, hello there, sir. Thank you for coming by. Star Realm 26, what up? What is up? The sky, they say. Unless you're standing on your head. But yeah, what's up? Jerry Base Art. Jesus is God. Ooh, I like that. I agree. Jesus is God. My first comics, I used A4 paper folded into half. Absolutely. I mean, mini comics. This is a quarter size of that. This is kind of that. Speaking about Jesus is God, this is a Christian zine. We'll get into that in a little bit. Um, let's see what else. I had been a long time not making any comics. Hey, well, yeah, that happens because and this might be the perfect episode for you actually, because comics is an overwhelming task, and even if you've made comics in the past, it's still an overwhelming task. See, it kind of rhymes there, right? And it's still hard to get back in the groove. I find it hard too. Um, what's up, Dave Hingley, the man, the myth, the legend, who makes many comics himself? What is up? Thanks for coming by, dude. Good to see you there. Jerry Base Art says they're satisfying of completing completed comics. Yes, the satisfaction of completed comics is a great satisfaction. I still am very proud of this comic, the first comic I ever made, Glyph and the Terror of Tusk. Artist Ralph, what is up? Greetings. Thank you for coming by. Hello, Maria. Hello, everyone. Hello, Maria. Let's see. So we're going to talk about comics, but another way to kind of enter the scene of comics, a way to get back into making comics if you've been having a hard time starting again, something to wet your whistle, to grease the gears, to, I don't know, there's other metaphors that probably work here too, but I'm not good at remembering them, especially after long, hard working days like I've had lately. So what is that way to kind of move into things? It's zines. We got mini comics, which I've talked about, which is a great way. But what's even easier and even more like even less overwhelming than making a mini comic is making zines. And we'll get into why. But first, I want to show off some zines that and these are things I've shown on the show before, but this is more, I wanted to find some stuff that's more zine-like and less comic-like. Now, granted, mine are very art-based, mine are very comic-like. I actually ordered some zines so that I can have some different variety to show you guys, and plus I get inspired by zines as well. But the thing that's cool about zines is, well, we'll get into what's cool about zines, but it's just less overwhelming. So here is my first mini comic, which I've shown in the past many times. This is the first thing that finally got me to make a full finished or make a finished comic, and this is this can be called a zine. This, that's the thing, is mini comics can also be considered zines. It doesn't take much to make something, turn something into or to be able to call something a zine. Basically, what the typical definition, I think, of a zine is like self-published, DIY, probably handmade booklet of some sort. Sometimes it's even less than a booklet. It's almost like a pamphlet. And comics, mini comics, very much are in that category. So there's so many different ways that you can do zines. You could do all kinds of different genres, but they don't have to be comics. There doesn't have to be any art in them. It could be all words, or it could be a mix of art and words. It doesn't have to be drawings. It could be photography. It could be collage work. It could be abstract. It could be all kinds of different things. Anything you can put into a booklet form and make yourself and publish, that's pretty much a zine. And usually they're kind of small, they're about, half of a sheet of paper folded or less. Sometimes I don't know if it's a zine, if it's bigger than that, is it considered a zine? I don't know. I don't know that it matters what the definition definitely is, but and one thing, when you start looking into zines, if you want to buy zines and stuff, or just you go to, they have zine fairs or conventions or whatever. One thing is that a lot of people you'll notice have zines about how to make a zine. And my guess is that's because it's something that sells well, but it's also because people who make zines are into the craft of making zines. They're into the feel of a handmade piece of art. They're into the tactile feel of creating these things, like stapling them and folding them. Some people are less into that and they get them printed up, or they just have too much demand, so they get them printed up. There's a lot of different ways people kind of go about it. But here's one by Mark Rudolph, How to Make a Zine. And this is a lot of what you'll see in zines is a mix of pictures and um, of words and pictures. Uh, Less story based than comics, but sometimes there's interviews and stuff. There's illustrations. There can be just people talking about their life, all kinds of things. This one, again, it can be instructional, which this one is how to make a zine. And this is Mark Rudolph's way of making a zine. There's also fanzines, which this fits into. You Don't Know Ditko by Javier Hernandez, and he's a comic book creator who loves Ditko, Steve Ditko, but he made a zine kind of dedicated to his life and history stuff. People who are enthusiasts about stuff talking about the things they're enthusiastic about, and then including artwork, imagery, whatever, pictures. And the thing is too is it really, you kind of can do these things because you're not mass producing these. It's highly unlikely, and you can have comics included in it, but it's highly unlikely that you're going to have any issues with copyright or anything, because like it's it's just so small distributed. You might print 20 copies at the most. You might print 5 copies. You might only make one for yourself. That it's possible that people do that. Um, you might make 200 copies. Like I guess there's probably a point where you get so popular and so mass produced where then you might have issues with copyright. But there's so many people who make their own Spider-Man comic, their own Batman comic, their fan comics, fan zines. And you kind of, it's like something cool where you really don't have to worry about copyright. You're probably, Disney's probably not going to hunt you down for making a you know a zine about Mickey Mouse that you like distributed to 10 people. So it's just not worth their time. People make zines about all kinds of theories and political things too. People just talk about what they believe, what they think. This one is a Christian one. I don't know. Signs of the storm. I don't know what this says. Langus? Signal the storm. Okay, so it goes up, and people are really creative. Like, you wouldn't normally write a word from bottom up, but in a zine, you'll see like oddball stuff like that. And it's kind of cool because it's like, it's being creative in a way that's like kind of really outside the box. And people play with all different formats. People do stuff with Xerox paper, like they copy and like some people just literally their printer, you don't even need a computer to make a zine. All you really need is a printer and a long arm stapler, and you can make and some paper, and you can make a zine. And you'll see all kinds of things where there's like just imagery and I don't know, just cool stuff. This is like very much like a typical, almost like a punk rock style zine, but this is Christian. It's interesting. Um, and people just, again, they use all different, they'll do collage stuff. You see like real sketchy stuff. There's also a lot of collaborative work with zines. Like people will take submissions. You can see this person's using different colored paper in their zines, and like there's just basically your imagination is like is the only limit, I guess. And so it's just kind of cool. Like you can do anything. You can literally do anything, and you don't have to have like this worry of bad quality. Like nobody in the zine community cares whether your stuff is like super amazing quality or not. Like, they'll probably appreciate good quality, but at the same time, if it's just like some copy paper that you put together, like it doesn't matter. Like people appreciate it just for what it is, and that's what's really cool. This is sort of like more in the zine realm. It's not a comic book. It's a mini monster coloring book. And, this was by Ted Secco. And you know, that's just another thing you could do with zines. You could just do anything, you know. I just tried to bring out some examples of things that aren't comic books, you know. Um, this is a lot of people, a lot of you know Jason Alexander, also known as Fog Breaker Studios. This is what he was working on for a very long time, ransom notes, and this is more comic than most than like this is definitely a lot of comic book stuff, but it's kind of got the flavor of a zine as well. And he's talking about his issues and struggles that he's had with being brought up in the Jehovah's Witness um, world, and just his experience with that. And I'm not going to show you everything, but this is kind of more on that level of zines. But it's I think he would call this a comic. I'm not sure, but it's, you know, you can have whatever mix you want. A guide on this is the Center for Cartoon Studies, and it's just a how to start to think about learning to draw comics, which is interesting because that's basically what I'm talking about with zines. It's like something that's even before making your first comic, making your first mini comic, is even just starting to practice working with words and imagery, you know, in fun different ways, and in a way that there's no rules and there's no wrong way, you know. And I think it's super inspiring. It's also a great place to test out ideas without, and obviously there's some comic stuff going on in here, but this is more instructional and stuff and inspirational. But you know, there's diagrams and stuff. Like you could publish your own, heck, even if you're somebody who just wants to be a writer. It's like, I don't know, I think it's kind of cool because like some writers are like, well, what if I can't draw? Well, make a zine. It could be all words, or you could get photography and try to put together your own comic book using um, you know, like pictures and collage stuff, and or stick figures, or just, you know, have somebody draw like 3 illustrations for you that kind of show the visualization of what you're thinking, but write it as almost a novel. Be creative with how the words are placed on the page. You know, there's all kinds of different things you could play around with, um, while even not having every skill there is when it comes to making comics. This is literally called the zine, the no filter zine. It's again a curated, like I said, there's a lot of curated zines that you could actually submit to, and it's not hard to get into them. Now, this is more like an art zine. It's just like, it's almost like an art gallery in a booklet, you know. And then there's like, you know, the odd interview here and there, you know, with some of these. So you got stuff from people's Instagrams, you got just, you know, all kinds of different things. That, like I said, this is almost more of a sketchbook or an art gallery type of book. You know, they got a bunch of stuff from old school Instagram, you know, which is kind of interesting to even see the old, you know, format that Instagram used to be, or even the format of hit this person's particular phone, what time he took these screenshots at. Like that's kind of like, you never know what you're gonna get like in these zines. This one's more, you could just do like sketchbooks, you know, your own sketchbook. I plan on doing some of this stuff for sure. Um, you know, and this one's just literally a sketchbook, again, collecting from other people's art. And again, there doesn't have to be any art in these, or a lot of art, or whatever. There can just be, you know, words, you're playing with words, all kinds of different things. Here's another one. Again, most of my stuff that would be considered just zines are also comics or very art based, because, you know, so far that's what I've mostly collected. But here we go, punk rock interview, you know, in the middle of this kind of comic thing. And then there's like true life pet peeves. People just do almost like diary work, like they're just writing what they feel or just their thoughts. Like this person created a crossword puzzle and put it in their zine. They made their own crossword puzzle. You know, that's kind of cool. They made their own. Is this called a, oh, word search? They made their own word search. Like that's cool. Like they do, it's like zine basically stands for magazine. It's a small version of a magazine, you know. So you could put anything in there. Again, a sci-fi fanzine. Um, you know, this has interviews, it has art. Again, it's more like an art gallery thing. With this one, I think it's from the same. But there's people who do all kinds of different fanzines. Again, my friend Chris McQuinlan, he just did like this sketchbook thing, you know, and literally it's just stuff from his sketchbooks putting together into a zine, you know, keep it simple. Dauntless, you know, by Shell uh, Presto and her DiBaggio and her husband. And they also sourced some of the art from my friend Kim Holm, or and he, if you know him from, you might know him from either I've had him on my YouTube channel, but also he's got a very well you know, pretty big TikTok following. And so this has some of her illustrations. It has her husband's writing and her writing in here. It's almost like a little novel that's illustrated. It's not really a comic. There's some uh, promotional material. Um, you know, people get creative in all different ways. Again, there's some stuff from Kim Holmes' art. There's other people's art in here. So, you know, and they could be thick, they could be thin. This is a kind of a thicker zine, you know. So that's just, you know, some just another cool way to do it. This is Peng from Corey Lewis. And this is kind of like there's like a comic-y feel, but it's also like showing character designs, and it's like a bonus piece to his comic zine that goes with his comic Ping. And you know, there's just a lot of different things you could do, and it's kind of low. Like you don't have to worry too much about making the best art necessarily. Here's another one that's like instructional about germs. You know, and this is kind of a comic, but it's also kind of just a instructional pamphlet. You know, that's just another thing you can do with zines. And this is um, Kevin Cross and Mark Rudolph's zine called Radio, and it's merging punk rock and heavy metal with they're both comic book artists, so it's using their illustration and graphic design work. And this is a good example of what you know, a typical zine might look like, especially kind of in the punk rock metal world. You know, again, playing with different kind of lettering and stuff, playing with different kind of design. There might be some Xerox stuff in this. I don't know. You know, there's so many different ways. You know, there's all kinds of different things you can do. You'll often see like all kinds of different fonts and stuff and formatting for the words and stuff. People just kind of talking about their own lives, then just straight up illustrations. Again, interviews and things. There's all kinds of things. And this is the last one that I'm showing off. Look, a little picture of a cassette tape, which is cool. You know, some kind of punk rock collage type stuff. And people's political views coming through. This is kind of cool, you know. Star Trek, you know, and they're reading radio, you know. So Captain Kirk and Spock. So yeah, those are zines. And the thing is, it's just really exciting because there's so many different ideas. I'm curious if have you guys ever made zines? Um, have you, you know, or have you only made mini comics or just comics? Do you have any interest in zines? What are some of your ideas? There's so many. I've been coming up with all kinds of ideas that I think will be fun. Like one of my ideas is called like phone zine, and it's just going to be stuff that I make on my phone while I'm like at lunch or waiting somewhere, like at a doctor's office or something or whatever. And just whatever imagery I make on my phone, eventually it's going to turn into like a zine. And I might write little things. Oh, I was in this place when I did it, or I had this thought that maybe is interesting, or whatever. Like you could just, it's almost like a diary entry in some ways. So, yeah, let's get to the chat and then we'll get to some sketching and talk a little bit more about zines. On a roll with the metaphors. Yeah, right. What's up, Paul Pate? How you doing? Good to see you. Well, your hands. I know, right? I could switch the camera and you could see me, but why? I don't know. I don't care if you did, but Adolfo, what's up? Thanks for coming by. Let's see. Yes. Zines are cool. I always end up missing the zine con over in the San Francisco Bay Area. Oh man, I'm sure they must have like really good zine convention. That's like, I mean, San Francisco Bay is like the breeding ground for all kinds of culture, especially punk rock and zine culture. I'm sure is thriving there. If anywhere, it's thriving. Mm, taking a little sippy sip. Uh, but yeah, and I want to find some. I found plenty of comic book conventions, but I've never been to like specifically a zine convention or fair, and I definitely want to find one. Let's see, or many. Paul Pate, the other. Oh, let's see. Inspiring me as I draw right now. Awesome. That's the way to do it, and I'm gonna get to drawing too soon here. I got a lot of ideas for zines. Let's see. The other comic guy's talking to Paul. Paul says, for about 2 years, I produced a magazine about electric football. Oh, and that's the thing. Like, what is electric football? Like, I don't know what that is. Um, Maybe it's like foosball or something. I don't know. Like, but that's the thing is it doesn't matter like what the subject matter is. Whatever you're passionate about, that's like weird. You don't have to worry about an algorithm. You're not trying to impress anybody. Like, you just make the thing that is exactly what you want to make. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you could do that anyways, but like a zine is like a perfect format to like do that. And the funny thing is there's people who are interested in reading these things even if it has nothing to do with anything they know about. Sometimes it's just cool to like learn about people and other interests, other passions, then you would never even have heard about, like electric football. I don't even know what that is. Maybe it's like soccer. I don't know. Like it was comic book size, but so few pages, I'd call it a zine. There you go. Like comic book size, I feel like maybe is a little bigger than what a typical zine would be. But I don't know. Like that's the thing that's cool about zines is there's not like a definite definition, that needs to be followed. Um, Sorry, I just noticed that I have all these other uh, mini comics that I think I showed in my last stream, and I'm just trying to see if any of them like are another example that I could have pulled out. But they are a little bit, some of them, but just wanted to make sure I didn't miss like something that would be cool to show you guys. So, anyways, um, that's cool, man. Like, I have no clue what electric football is, but if I read a zine on it, then I'd know and I might be interested. Dede on her show today was talking about like ancient history stuff, like ancient aliens, or just old history, like archaeology stuff, or like all kinds of different things that you may or may not even agree with. She didn't even agree with some of it, but it's still mysterious and interesting, like UFO sightings, things like that. Like these are all things you could talk about. Like, what are your thoughts about it? Like, eh, you can't, you could shout that on the top of, you could tell that to people and they might not be interested, but there's something cool about like zine culture that lets you be able to express that, and you might actually find some people that are like, wow, that was really cool, I never thought of that type of thing. I mean, I can't speak to zine culture super a lot because I'm just learning about it really, but from what I understand, and I also, there is definitely like certain like there's probably certain predominant more political leanings or non-religious leanings or whatever. There's certain like themes that are more predominant in zine culture that actually may or may not be like your thing, but there's so much that's interesting in zine culture. Like, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of like really cool stuff out there that's just hitting on topics you may never have thought about or got. I don't know, to me it just seems like a really cool way to explore, a really creative way to kind of get out of the box without too much sacrifice of time. I mean, I'm sure it takes plenty of time, but um I don't know, it just seems less overwhelming to me than making an actual comic book. Not saying that you shouldn't make comic books. I'm just saying like this is a good way to like, if you've been struggling or you need to do something to freshen up your like inspirational, your like creative juices, like maybe stop your comic for like a day or a few days or a week, work on a zine, and then you'll feel refreshed and want to get back to your comic. Or maybe you're still hesitating on making a comic book, and maybe a zine is your perfect, entryway into getting to the comic book world, as far as like making comics. I made a mini comic all about bees. I think that counts as a zine. I mean, to me, mini comics count as zines as is. I just didn't show mini comics as much because I've showed them so much on this channel. And everybody here, if anybody has watched my channel and doesn't know what a mini comic is, then you've I don't know what happened, because that's kind of what I get into that so often. I talk about it so often. Um, but so that's just like one example of a zine, but I absolutely think that that counts as a zine. I think all your mini comics count as a zine. In my town, there's a corner bar. Someone needs to open the other corner bar, like the other comic guy. You guys are having like your own conversation there. That's cool. Um, the other comic guy. I like the zine idea, Marsh. Cool. I'm glad you do. Paul Pay, my electric football magazine actually had about 50 subscribers. That's awesome. I made some money that all went to a local charity. That's awesome too. It was fun for a while. That's great. And I have ideas for like that kind of thing too. And I think even if it's a larger size, I kind of think it counts because you see, to me, it's kind of like small press is also a big part of what, and DIY is also a big part of what make up a zine, because sometimes you see these like little newspaper things that are passed out around, like, I don't know, I want to say a subway station or a bus station, or like some of these like more local city places. You'll see these things around at times, and excuse me, I should have muted. um but and to me those are kind of right in the realm of zines as well, so I like that idea. And I think maybe there's some interesting ways, again, like if you're a writer and you don't know how to draw, or because to me you don't even have to be good at drawing, and you can do art in a zine, or you could be good at drawing and do art in a zine. It's all like welcome, it's all interesting. I mean, children draw. I'm sure there's lots of children's drawings and zines and stuff. Like that's fine too. Like it's all good. I think it all works. So I mean, I got on this kick because my friend wanted me to do some artwork for his zine. So I'm going to show off some stuff on Instagram here a little bit. I showed this stuff a little bit before, but um, let me just get into that a bit before I get into some drawing and stuff. Let's see, share screen, and let's go to the Instagram. So this is the illustration I made that may or may not become his cover for the patchwork zine that he's created, which is kind of like probably more on the realms of punk rock art zine, and it's an art zine. um, but he's got submissions that were open and may also be it probably I think they're open for like the second issue. He hasn't fully put this first one together yet, or printed it, I should say, but he's got an Instagram called Fanboy Will, which he also has a podcast, and it plays like punk rock music. But then he's got this other, and he does like this collage work as well, this like kind of punk rock collage work stuff. And so this is his other Instagram that's just for the art zine. So New York based print art zine with a punk edge, created by Fanboy Will, featuring various artists, styles, mediums, and more. So there's that, and you can see actually here in the spotlight thing, if it shows. Well, I'll show it better on my Instagram because that's something I made. I don't know if it'll be in the zine or not, but this is something my friend Will made, um, and this is just kind of like the Kill Your Radio podcast. That's the podcast that he does with his buddy. But this is that kind of collage, punk rock collage stuff, and it's really creative. And art is punk patchwork. I showed some of this stuff in the last episode, sorry, um, but I wanted to kind of get into it a little bit. But these are kind of some type of things you'd see in a zine. Um, some of the art sometimes you would see. Let's see. Okay, so here, and I looked, if you look up zine submissions on Instagram, you'll start to, you can see like there's a lot of people, like there's a lot of the zine community on on Instagram, and you can submit to these zines, and look that up, and then look up recent, and you'll find whatever the newest ones are, and you might be able to submit to some if you want to kind of share your artwork. Obviously it's got to probably fit whatever theme their zine is about, but yeah. So this one says like submissions are closed for issue one, um, but I think he plans on doing many issues, and I know he's done other zines before in the past, and so I've seen them before. So here's some artwork that's going to appear in his zine from other artists too. So, and it doesn't have to be this punk rock style of art or whatever, but this is, kind of what his zine is more like. So we'll go to my Instagram. I think I can click on it right here. I hope. Yeah, here we go. So I made this the other day. I don't know if this will be in his zine, but this was my first attempt at making like a punk rock style collage, type of thing. And so, I don't know if it counts as whatever, but I thought it was fun to make. I did this one all digitally, but you can do it with like all kinds of whatever kind of medium you want to play with. So I thought this was fun, and it came out pretty cool. I have some other things I'm working on too that I think will be cool, that are collage. Some is like more illustrations, all kinds of different things. So let me I guess unshare because I don't think I have anything else I need to share there. But yeah, I don't know, like that's I don't know, that's what I'm into, and I think it's just like really cool. I have a lot of cool ideas. Here's that illustration that I did, and I just went straight to ink with this one. I was hanging out with Magda, and we were on the couch, and like we were just talking and stuff, and while we were talking, I just got my pen out and started inking some weird eyes at first, and then it turned into like a mustache, and then I started drawing the teeth from there, and then all these wrinkles, and then it turned into this jacket with patches, and it just was weird and bugged out, you know. It was just fun to draw, and now it's gonna be something that's in a publication somewhere, and that's pretty cool. So I don't know, it's like weird tripped out stuff. It's nothing, it's not me trying to make the best illustration I ever made. It's me having fun doing an illustration, you know. So yeah. So one of my ideas that I think I'm going to turn into a zine, and I've already told you guys this idea. I thought it was going to be just like maybe a comic, but I think this fits more the zine realm than an actual comic. And that is the observational drawing comic idea that I had. And I've already done one page. Where is it? That I liked. Here we go. You know, and this is just panels and observational drawings within the panels. Sometimes there's a little bit of a word balloon and some words in there, hand lettered, but it doesn't have to be. You could put like, you could do actual lettering. Um, you know, I guess I'll show like kind of close up if I can get it unblurry. There we go. And some of it's copying from, a lot of it's copying images from like um, searches, just observational drawing, or like even copying from comic books and stuff. You know, again, you don't really have to worry about copyright so much with the zine. So again, this is the other page I've done so far. So I'll probably do some work in this tonight. But you could do all kinds of like mixed media stuff and all that. Let's see what the peoples are saying. Yeah, I'm curious what electric football even is. Dave Hingley, there's a zine artist, Rachel Leigh Carter, who she does zines on Nick Cage. Oh yeah, I've seen the she has a, is she the one who has the podcast? I've been, you know, looking up this stuff, and there was somebody who was like really into like Nicolas Cage things. And Jane Birkin, she runs a zine fair in Bristol. See, there you go. And it's funny, as I was looking into the zine stuff, there was this girl who was talking about some girl with her last name was Hingley. And I was like, huh, I wonder if she's related to Dave Hingley. That would be crazy because he makes like mini comics and she makes zines. It could be like your cousin or sister. Who knows? Um, Paul Pate, I would do art, write some articles, friends articles, lots of photos. See that, yeah, you can play around with all kinds of things. And again, as a writer, like the best way to get better at being a writer is writing, you know, so why not, heck, make if you can't make um do the art of comics, you can make a zine that's all words, you know. There's nothing wrong with that. And I just realized I didn't bring like my thing that has all my pens in it and stuff. So I'm gonna have to use what's nearby, which is seems like mostly Sharpies, and I must have like, yeah, here's like a ballpoint pen, so that's good. At least I have that. So yeah. And I gotta get something cool to draw while I'm talking about this stuff a little bit. Let's see. Let us see. We'll go over to Pinterest real quick. That's the easiest, like, quickest way to find things. And we'll talk a little bit about the zines. This is a cool picture. I'll go with this. Um, cool. And we'll talk about whatever, man. Um, let's see. That is such a great drawing. Very scary. It is kind of scary, right? It's really creepy. Thank you. Marsh, does a zine have to be printed? I don't think it has to be printed. In fact, there is, let's see if I can find it. Archive, if you, I don't know if you guys have ever checked out archive.org, I think it's called. Zines. But they have like all kinds of stuff. They have like old radio shows. They have like, um, they just have all kinds of things archived and from the internet and just from print, from records, all kinds of stuff, videos, government videos, like all it's just archive.org is a cool little spot that has all kinds of neat stuff. Old photography. Sorry, I keep sniffling and not like muting. I don't know if I have like anything or not, like a cold. It's hard to tell these days. Like I'm just like it's winter and I always have the sniffles, it seems like lately. So, but there's also other reasons why I could possibly be a little under the weather. So excuse me. So does it have to be printed? I don't know that it has to be. I think there are digital zines. But I kind of think like zine implies magazine, little magazine. So I think it makes sense that it's printed. Does it have to be? I don't know. One person on one of their videos talking about zines mentioned the thought that like zines are like a cool alternative to like scrolling on social media and on like Instagram and stuff because there's some kind of harmful things about scrolling on let's see about like spending too much time on social media, as I think a lot of people would attest to and agree with. But here again, I'll put the link in the description so you can see like there's tons of free zines here. This again, archive.org is just like a really cool site that has all kinds of things. But there's 62,155 results. Zines. This is a collection of zines that can be found on the archive. Zines are self-published, non-commercial publications with typically small circulations. They cover a wide range of topics with many focuses on politics, art, creative writing, and personal theory. Uh, yeah, so there's that. Let's see, how do I get back to the and so let's see. There's so many different things. Infos and infozine. Like I don't know. This goes by letter, like so these are all the ones that start with A that they have here. There's just so many things. And then there's like different topics, like punk zines. Here's some punk zines, or at least what is called punk zines. And this one has 51 pages. You can scroll through. Pretty neat. See, I should have just showed you guys this because this is like real deal zines. It's good for like bands and stuff, like promoting bands. A lot of bands have promoted themselves kind of through these type of things. Um, so that's cool. Uh, what happened? Let's see. This one looks like it has Wolverine on it. I can't attest for it. Like I don't know. That's like what a Jim Lee Wolverine drawing that they just kind of copy pasted in there somehow. You know. I don't know if there's going to be anything that you shouldn't see in here. Sorry, but this is Look at all, I love the like borders of like tapes and stuff. That's really cool. This isn't even in English, so that's, it doesn't have to be in English. Maybe I should go to a different kind of zines than punk rock, because my guess is I'm gonna find more. So you could see some of the popular, like, anarchism is like the most popular thing in here. Let's go to fanzines. 452 fanzines. Or wait, that's rock. There's all kinds of different subject matter. So I'm going to apply my filter. Here we go. Fanzines. Nothing but records review. Whatever like weird little interest you have, or not, it doesn't have to be weird. It could be like anything, any kind. Like if you like are really interested in manga or whatever, or like maybe one specific kind of manga, or there's just this one specific manga book that you've just are obsessed with. Like for me, like one of my favorite music albums in the world is Bjork Homogenic. That's just one of my many favorite albums, but um I could probably make multiple zines just about that album, you know, or just a fanzine about Bjork. This definitely is very reminiscent of what I would think of as like a punk rock style zine, or just a zine. It's just all kinds of different ways of putting together pages. It almost looks like a comic book, but it's more text than imagery sometimes, which is interesting. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's really cool in my opinion. So let's see, what's this? Humankind of learning. A human kind of learning. I don't know what this is about, but look, this one's only text almost, which is interesting, and there's 66 pages of it with with the random image of Spock here and there. So, just really cool stuff. So we could go through this. I'm going to put the link in the description, and you guys can look for yourself. I removed myself for a second. Sorry. Um, so here's the link to the free zine archive. And I'm sure you can find other stuff too in other places on the internet. But here's this one. A great place to buy zines, if you want to buy zines, is Etsy. Etsy has got lots of zines. That's where I bought some today. And I'm sure there's other places too. I'm just getting to know some of this stuff. Let's see. Hey Marsh, for your collage, how did you get the photocopy effect? I've been trying to replicate the effect of a photocopy of a photocopy. Um, I literally like took down the saturation to 0. When you go into like, say, if you're in, I did mine, that particular one, in Clip Studio on my iPad. And if you go into edit and then you go into the tonal section, tonal changes or whatever, you got like hue and contrast. You could bring up the contrast. Or another thing that I did too was I went to binarization or whatever, like that effect is, I think, also under edit and tonal, or it might just be an edit by itself under that. So binarization, I think Photoshop has that, and that's how you can make it like really. You can change like the crispiness of the photocopiness of it, and it just makes it stark black and white, and you can just make it either. It's like it has a slider to make it like more dark or more light. But you could do it with contrast. You can do it with and also kind of doing that effect and then doing that effect again makes it even more crunchy. Like, just keep adding effects that add artifacts, weird artifacts to the image, and then redo that. Or like, there's just so many different ways you can add effects. I Another cool thing to do is like go into like a video editor and like run your image through a bunch of different weird effects, and then just take snapshots, and then or blow it up, like blow that up, and then take that and binarize that, or to put the contrast up on that, whatever you can do. Go into the hue things and take all the saturation out. Those are just some different ways you can kind of do that. There's so many things, like literally just play around with photo type effects, and like add effects upon effects upon effects, and you can make some really cool things happen. I mean, there's just so many techniques. It's insane. Maybe I'll make like a tutorial someday about it. To me, it's just like just going into your program and just like adding everything you can to it, deciding whether you like it, taking things out, that kind of thing, with layers. And also just photocopy, use a copy paper, like take something, blow it up past the size it's supposed to be, like so that it starts looking crunchy and ugly, and then take a photo, print it on a piece of paper, then take that piece of paper and photocopy it, and then take it and take the second one and photocopy it again. You'll start to get little artifacts and stuff. In fact, there's been whole zines specifically about people like literally taking copies of copies of copies of copies of copies. And it's there's something about that tactile and textural stuff that you can get from those processes, just processing something over. And I learned this from I got into this from also music, like trying to make noisy, grungy, glitchy, weird experimental music. You just put effect upon effect. You like resample, you like sample that, turn it into audio, then and rasterize your images too. Like, don't keep them as the what do you call it, the dynamic object or whatever. I don't know all the words, but rasterize it so you can't like do all the things that you can do with like a dynamic layer. And I don't know what those words are that make that, but once you make it, just okay, now like turn it into a JPEG, and then like stretch it out. There's like so many different things, and then turn that into black and white. And like there's like a million different ways you can kind of make stuff look kind of crunchy and dirty. And it's fun. It's actually, I just sometimes I get lost in that, and then I end up with something that's so crunchy and dirty that it's unusable. So I have to like either back up or start the process again, which is fine because it's a quick process. It's not like you're, spending forever like trying to get the drawing perfect and get the anatomy right, and then you want to make sure you ink it right. And it's not like this perfection process, it's this experimental process that ends up bringing you to something textural and cool and interesting and fun. That's how I work, at least. And again, I learned that from doing the modular music stuff. You're just adding things upon other things upon other things. And and the trick with all this is to observe what you're doing, to keep your eye sharp. It's more about, knowing when to kind of stop and knowing where to do the give and take. And the same thing with music. It's like the trick is like to stop yourself in the midst of the process and just listen for a little bit. Is this something I want to be a final piece of the puzzle, or is this something I want to keep processing further until I get it to where I want it, and then leave it? It's hard to leave it. Sometimes you go way too far to the point of no return, where it's like, yeah, this is too far. So you gotta do something different, and that's fun too. So let's see, Star Realm 26. That collage work is definitely gives me Van's off the wall vibes. I'm not sure what that means, but cool. I hope that's a good thing. Devontae Edwards, what's up? Hey, what's up, Adam? How you doing? Thanks for coming by. Daniel, how are you doing? First time around. Nice topic. Good way to fight procrastination. Yes, it's a good way to procrastinate and fight procrastination. I don't know if I even have like I do have Clip Studio. Oh, I could show you guys actually how I do it. Maybe I'll do that. It's pretty simple. I forgot that I have Clip Studio on here. So now I just got to find an image. Here, I'll show you guys the screen. It's the power of the StreamYard and the internet. Maybe I won't even end up getting a drawing. I don't know. Uh, let me do the screen sharing thing again. Let's see. Screen share, window, Clip Studio. So now I got to find an image. I don't even know if I have much for images on this computer because it's relatively new. I don't use it a ton because I'm just not a big computer user. Like I can't wait to make um just to kind of experiment just with a photocopier. And like people take like they leave the door to the photocopier open, and when they're scanning the picture they're trying to copy, they'll move the picture as they're scanning and it makes cool art. Or you can photocopy all kinds of things. It doesn't have to be like a piece of paper. It can, like I saw somebody photocopy um their phone cord the other day, and I'm like, well, that has a certain effect to it. um so let me just see, where's my images. I'll bring something in and show you kind of my process a little bit. um I could bring in just an image of myself if I even have one. I could bring in this image of me as a kid. Let's see. I got another one of me as a kid. Old photos are kind of cool to use. You could take a picture of a photo and take a picture of that picture of a photo. So yeah, we'll use this picture. And let me import that into uh hopefully it'll let me. I'm not like, again, super. Why isn't it? Where'd it go? Share to. It doesn't want to share to Clip Studio. Let me see if I could do it from the Clip Studio window. Sorry, I know this is kind of on the boring side. Let's see. Import. Sometimes I got to create a project, but I don't want to do it that way. On my phone, I can just do it the way I want to do it. But it doesn't want to let me. Oh, probably the window is hiding behind another window, which happens sometimes. But where is it? Yeah, it doesn't want me to do that. That's so annoying. Ugh. All right, we'll find a way. Maybe I can just drag it in to Clip Studio. Let's see. Might not be a file format that support. Oh, there we go. There we go. Just dragging it in does the trick. Cool. All right, so this is a picture of me as a kid with some crazy knee socks in the I don't know, in the mid 80s, I guess, because maybe late 80s, actually. Um, I was born in 79, so, you know, so maybe it's the early 90s. No, no, can't be. Maybe I'm like 8 years old. I don't know, 9 years old, something like that. Anyways, so this is a picture. And so what I'll do, hopefully you can see, can you see the drop down menu? I hope so. So we're going to edit, and one way. All right, right, so let's see. I don't know if, okay, this is a rasterized image. Yeah, so we can go into tonal correction. So edit tonal correction, and basically everything in this tonal correction thing is something you can do. But here we go, binarization. Bam. Instant punk rock. And then you move the slider whichever way you want, and it gets more or less crunchy, you know. I like to call it crunchy or dark and light. So, that's just one way. So we'll cancel that. Another thing you can do is, let's see, brightness contrast. Let's do that. Let's bring up the contrast. Bam. We're getting some funky stuff there. Bring down the brightness, put up the brightness. Just play around until you get to something you like. Now I got these kind of like funky colors, some more weird funky shapes going on. So let's go with okay with that. Now let's go to binarization. Maybe it'll look even cooler. So that kind of does a little different thing to it. It kind of brings out some different interesting shapes. You can do that. Or you could keep it like this. You can print in color too if you want with a zine. There's nothing wrong with that. People do it. Let's see, what else could we do to this to make, what's posterization? Doesn't that do something funky? I forget. I haven't messed with posterization. It probably works better on the photo without it being already manipulated. Let's see, what else can we do? Tone curve, color balance. I mean, we got hue, saturation, luminosity. Again, pull down the saturation, you got grayscale, luminosity, not really. I mean, you could do some stuff with that, you know. So there's that. Let's see, cancel that. Another thing that's cool is, let's see, should we change the canvas size? Let's see what happens if you change the canvas size. If we blow it up like really big, like will it get all weird? And oh no, so that's going to do that. So I want the actual picture. Well, I could do the canvas size. Let's try that again. Change canvas size. So is it gonna, it's not doing it like uniformly, but whatever. Whoops. Let's bring it even smaller so we can blow that baby up. We're blowing me up. Okay. Now let's take the actual picture and stretch it a bit. And I'm kind of, I haven't used except for last night. It's been a long time since I've kind of used Clip Studio. So hopefully you guys are seeing this and it's not like I'm talking and you guys, there's an issue. See, this isn't really a good way to do it because, like, see, I did that, but it doesn't look like it messed up the resolution or anything. Like, but there's, if I blew it up large enough, it would start to, like, things would probably start to separate or whatever. I don't know. I might not be doing it right too. But other things you could do is like go into the transform stuff. Let's see. I like I think the mesh tool is kind of cool. You could just do some weird stuff. Like, I don't know. I like doing stuff like this. And just, you never know, like, what kind of weird um, effect you might get. It's probably better if you like put more points like on it. So I don't know. So take that. And it's just like really weird. It's a whole different shape. Where's the OK button? So now we got this weird version of me. I don't know, like, and then it's funny when you turn it into like, I mean, you could mess with the hue and stuff. Let's see, let's get some funky colors going. And then you're getting some artifacts in there that are weird. You could get like more saturated, but it's already pretty saturated. You could desaturate. That kind of makes it look interesting. I don't know. There's like a lot of different things you could do. Just keep messing with it. And then let's see. Colorize all. This feature process. I don't know what it's saying. I don't care. There we go. It's doing something weird there. Now take that and do something else to it. Let's play with curves. you know, you just could just keep going crazy with stuff and see what you get. If you don't like it, you put it back and try something different. And like this could be like an image for like life is surreal or something, or my warped childhood or something like that. I mean, I'm not trying to say it, but like whatever, like you could just do whatever. Let's see. There's probably other cool things I could do. Reverse gradient. Let's see what that does. Oh, it does that. Okay, I don't want to do that. Let's see. How do I go back? Control Z, Command Z. All right. uh, I'll stop being silly here in a minute, but let's do the binarization on that. Oh wow, it left colors in. I didn't know that binarization ever left colors. That's interesting. So anyways, you could do that, and then like what you could start getting going into some of the tools and like um do like a crazy brush effect. Let's see if we have like some kind of splatter effect or something. Where would be like a splatter? I haven't added any tools in here or anything for a long time. Oh, we got some cool dot effects. We got effects, some DAS effects. Now let's make the brush size like huge. Where's the brush size? I'm oh, here we go. Brush size. Let's just start putting some weird dot situations in here. Make the brush size a different size. Get a little tiny dots in there. And just all over the place. Let's make this size different. A little bit bigger. Doop doop doo. You gotta mix it up. I mean, you just texture density. I mean, this is just kind of showing that you can kind of do anything. You could do a little scribbles and then go smaller and do scribbles. Or I'm not using like a pen or anything or a tablet here, so sorry if this is a little boring, but oh, there we go. So now we're getting that going. I need that brush size to be a little bit bigger. You could write some words. Warped, you know. And this is, the process I was going through. It's easier for me on the iPad because it's it's basically a drawing tablet, and I don't have a drawing tablet connected to this computer. We could throw in some other colors. Let's go with magenta. and make, do some stuff here. You can, I don't know. Let's make the brush bigger. Get some of those dots in there. Again, it's hard. It's kind of weird. Let's see. I mean, this is like me just being silly and trying to figure something out, but And then we'll take this image, do tonal correction, and throw the contrast crazy. See what that looks like. Put the darkness down. All right, I don't like that much. So let's cancel this. Let's do something different. Edit, tonal correction. Like you keep going back and forth. Push, pull, add, subtract, saturation, throw that up. I don't know, or throw it all the way down, bring it back to a grayscale situation. I don't know. Like I don't like that either, so I'm not going to use it. Let's see what the binarization thing does. That's kind of different and interesting. Like, I don't know. So, anyways, that's the process. And this you might bring this so far where all of a sudden, you're like, I don't know, maybe this is just going to turn into like a background. And then you just take this and let's scale it up, make it bigger. I don't like this whole thing, but maybe if I just get like a tiny piece of this texture and it's grabbing some things but not grabbing the other things, you just kind of be a little random with it. Now we have something else going on, a whole different thing. I've lost my face entirely, but we have kind of a cool texture thing going on, and maybe I could put an illustration on top of that, and that's like the background. Like there's again, it's just never ending. So I'll stop there because I'm going down like rabbit hole world, and it's probably boring to you guys, but all right, let's see. Let's get back to the chat. And oh, look, looks like it was blurry. That's awesome. I don't know how it got blurry, but hopefully it wasn't blurry the whole time. I don't know why it would be blurry. That doesn't even make sense. But oh well. Hopefully it wasn't horrible. Let's see. Chris Clue, what's up? Chris Kylu. How you doing, Chris? I should stop trying to pronounce names when I don't know how to pronounce them. What's up, Seven? How you doing? Thanks for coming by. Everybody who's here, thank you. Let's see what else. Adam, if you change the color mode from RGB to index color and select a limited number of colors, you can get some cool effects, including a dithering effect. Ooh, I gotta remember that one. That sounds like an interesting technique. I'm gonna screenshot what you just said with my phone so I can remember to try that. Dithering is a cool thing. It was only blurry for the last few seconds. Okay, thanks for letting me know. That's awesome. All right, cool. So yeah, that's what I do, man. I mean, that wasn't a great example of me doing it. I don't really like the results of that, but you see how quick that was, and I probably would have gotten to a point quicker because if I wasn't showing you, where I would be like, I don't like this. I'm going to try something different, But that was just an example of kind of how to start building something. And then another thing is taking again the collage method of taking a lot of different images and kind of putting them together. And you can even almost like form like a story that way. What happened to my Pinterest image? Here it is. All right, cool. All right, so yeah, I don't know. Like to me, all that stuff is really interesting. And this pen apparently doesn't work. Well, that sucks. No, it's not the only. I thought it was the only pen that was like kind of more of a drawing implement. I got another one. I got a bunch of stuff here. There's more than enough things to do. So, yeah. Yeah, we'll go in. Let's go in with red. There we go. So, yeah, I don't know. To me, zines are just like super cool way to kind of experiment and test ideas. I love the idea of like testing ideas, this way. And so I just think like if you have a story idea, well maybe don't make the whole story yet. Like maybe just write like I don't know, a few sentences, like a synopsis of the story and then start putting in some imagery, or like a piece of the story, like just one scene in the story and and try to just make some almost like keyframe illustrations, you know what I mean, where like you're not necessarily like trying to draw the whole comic as much as like just certain scenes or pieces of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle, so that way you can almost practice some of your ideas. Maybe there's an idea you're not sure about, and the final idea is probably going to end up being different anyways, so why not like experiment? You don't even have to publish it necessarily, but this is just again another way to kind of practice comics without doing a full comic, or to just get some ideas rolling. Maybe you're not sure what idea you want to work on. Again, you don't have to make even a full mini comic um, to figure that out. You could just do some character designs. Like each comic idea you have, maybe make a little character design sketchbook of it through a zine, and play with the characters, or like just express yourself too, like just practicing the art of expressing yourself is a cool thing with this stuff. Like I have a lot of ideas, and I'll get into some of my ideas, and if you guys steal them, I guess I kind of don't care, because like you could just steal them and I'll still do it because you're not going to do it the way I do it. Type of thing. So I'm gonna do it the way I'm gonna do it, and you'll do it the way you'll do it, and we'll both have our own thing. um, so let's see. It's easy to make and publish. Yeah, I kind of hit on a bunch of these. I'm kind of looking through my notes. Again, quality isn't important. Like the zine community doesn't care. Like where that's one thing that's a little different with the comic community and the zine community. Now, like you could do mini comics and not everybody's finicky about quality, but you're going to find more often than in the zine world, you're going to find, sometimes people are sticklers about quality, or maybe you are a stickler about quality. Maybe you're somebody who has a hard time getting anything done because you want it to be really good quality. Well, a zine might feel better, like a better place to experiment without worrying about quality than even a mini comic. It's kind of like a way to play around with a lot of the elements that are in comics, um, without committing to a full narrative story. You can kind of get just play in that realm without having to tell a story, because storytelling is a tough thing. And again, experimentation, like what I was just showing you right there with the like just kind of putting all kinds of processes on an image and then mixing it with another image. Like that's another thing. You could lower the opacity on one image, and like you could flip it, turn it upside down, you could blow things up, you can make things smaller, you can repeat things. And the more you kind of play around in that realm, um you're just experimenting. And then by experimenting, you actually end up finding um methods that you never would have thought to do. And um, that would, that can inform you doing it in a more iterative slash also in a more intentional way. You can intentionally go about that same method next time. Be like, you know what? This is something I never would have even thought of trying to do that way if it wasn't for me experimenting that day and just throwing anything at anything and seeing what stuck, type of thing. And I've definitely learned from those kind of processes. It's kind of that's one of my, like, there's the whole debate about like AI art, and I'll be honest, like I'm not 100% on either side, when it comes to that. But that's one thing that excites me about AI art, is what I've learned with experimentation and how that can inform my actual work. Like that's what you can do with AI art as well. It's a generative experimental process. And you see some stuff, it might influence, oh, I never thought of putting those two elements together quite that way. And then now you can take that thought and be like, all right, I'm going to try to implement it in my own way, type of thing. It's actually very similar to just observing things and using reference and stuff. Or making, even you could even create like color palettes and stuff that you wouldn't have, ways you wouldn't thought to mix certain colors. Be like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to draw that weird face that makes me think of like this painting is demon possessed, but I really like that color palette, and like maybe I can make that into a new painting or something like that. That's kind of one of the things where I'm like, I'm definitely not 100% against AI art. There's a part of, there's some things that kind of creep me out about AI art, and I don't know, just it's not like a fear of the unknown thing, I don't think, because I'm not afraid of that, but like um I don't know. There's some things that I'm like, I don't know so much. Like I love the human hand, in artwork, and I'm kind of all for that. And so when I see stuff that looks better than what I can even make coming from AI art, it's a little discouraging, I guess, So I guess that's kind of some of my qualms about it. It doesn't really make me against it. It just makes me like, I don't know. I have apprehensions, but at the same time, I also have excitement and interest for it. So, anyways, I don't necessarily need to talk about AI art. It's just that's some of my like random, not fully formed thoughts maybe about it. Another thing is like mini manifestos. I thought of this idea too, like mini manifestos, like just a chance for you to like say everything about some particular subject that you're really passionate about, that in typical daily conversation, it's just not going to be a good conversation thing that people are interested in talking about. But again, the 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 zine community is more open to new and different odd ideas or interests and stuff, I think. And I don't know, it's just a cool way of thinking about doing things. So like if you have like a really strong opinion about some oddball thing, like why you kind of wish that Smurfs should have been green and not blue, you know. It's just like the oddest things that nobody would ever think of, but that's the kind of thing that flies, in in a zine world, that can be kind of fun and interesting. Or who knows, like Dede, like I watch her videos all the time, and she talks about like she always puts, you know, time, the element and thought ideas of time into her visual collages and stuff. But like maybe if she was interested in making zines, she could do a zine and just talk about all the funky things she thinks about time that is interesting. And have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about that? Like, I don't know. This probably isn't true when it comes to physics, but I still think about it and think it's interesting. Like, what if this, and this, or what's this mystery? I don't understand how this works. All kinds of things. Like you can just exploring. I think that's another thing with zines. It's just what a cool way to like explore different things. So like, and again, like even this thing that I'm doing, this observational drawing comic type thing, it's like when I thought about doing this, I was like, oh, cool idea. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, nobody's going to want to buy this or even look at this. Like, why would they care about an observational drawing comic? But in the zine world, this totally flies. This works. This is okay. Like, you can't do anything. You kind of can't do wrong in the zine world. You know, from what I understand and what I've seen. I mean, obviously, like I said, there are some typical political leanings and things like that. But, a lot of stuff isn't about any of that, Then there's a lot of stuff that is about that stuff. But, you can navigate and do whatever it is that you want to do. And there's room, I think there's room for people to express, even if they're not in the same political world and stuff. Um, so yeah, that's all my notes on that, but I'm gonna share some of my zine ideas. So I have a huge passion, newly found passion for, this synthesizer modular stuff. It doesn't really fit on this channel. I have a whole other music YouTube channel. I have a whole other music TikTok, and that's under the name Planet Plex if anybody's interested. Um, and you could even find some of my music on like Spotify under the name Planet Plex. So, look that up if you like. And also on Bandcamp. But modular is kind of a weird niche thing. And I definitely would love to do like a zine just about that, and then do some drawings of like the modular gear, and like maybe people who are into modular or whatever, like just fan art of like some of my favorite modular creators, musicians, whatever. Who knows? Again, the observational drawing comic is definitely going to become like a zine, I think. Looks like I'm 2 pages down. um, Again, fan comics is a great thing to do. Like, I don't know, like there's so many people who do like these weird one-off or many-off fan comics of like Batman or Spider-Man or whatever it is that they're into. Like maybe I do like my own version of Spawn or my own version of Youngblood because I like those things, or Savage Dragon, or maybe I mash up the characters that I've never seen used together before. Who knows? And then make my own. There's like some really bad, like awesome, like Wolverine fan art comics, and you could do it in weird styles that Marvel would never print, and stuff like that. And again, you really won't come onto any copyright issues more likely than not, because you're printing like 10, 20 of these things, and that Marvel doesn't have time to chase everybody who's doing stuff. And when it comes down to it, a lot of times it's under the realm of parody anyways. It kind of gets classified that way. So it kind of works. Another idea, like I've already done, like the one page comics, like Christopher Runtsman's does the one page comic. I showed that, and he does a lot of one page comics, or couple page comics. Like I probably will do a comic zine about that's all one page comics. I already made one, why not keep going? I've already thought I was going to do that anyways in regular comic form, but it would work in zine form as well. Um, I have an idea of doing a zine called False Starts, where I just talk about all the different comic ideas, or even music ideas that I started and never finished, that maybe one day I'll finish, maybe one day I won't. I don't know. That's just like one idea, or like characters I kind of created as a kid or something. Like there could be a whole comic about characters I created as a kid, and then I could maybe at the end of that write a little narrative of like, what if I actually did write a story? Maybe it would do this and maybe it would do that. I don't know. Like there's so many, you could just like wander into weird territory with zines and just have fun. And again, why how does this serve comics? This gets you to feel fresh creatively about comics. If you've made comics or you're having a hard time getting back to making comics, it can give you like a fresh outside of the box kind of take. You can find new techniques you never thought of before, new ways of working, new workflows even. Or if you're having a hard time even getting into making your first comic, this is a much less intimidating way to start, playing with similar things that you play with comics. And then, maybe you publish your first, zine, and then you're like, okay, I think I can do a comic now. And you try and you do a comic, and then you get the comic done. And it's like you could go back and forth seeing the comics. And there's a lot of comic artists who make zines and a lot of zine people who make comics. Like some people are more predominantly one than the other, but this isn't like it's a very similar world, I feel like. So it's not hard to make that transition. Like you think of cartoonist kayfabe. Um, I don't know if Ed Piskor has, but I know Jim Rugg has videos about making zines and that showing zines he's made and stuff. I've seen a lot of comic artists who also do zines before. So yeah, there's that. I don't know. There's some stuff that's a little more like personal, like a Bible zine I wrote. Like I have some ideas that I can do with that. Like maybe I make some stuff about Enoch, which is a book that's not in the Bible, but is kind of like used by people, scholars and stuff, and it's kind of Bible adjacent. I don't know. Like I could get into that stuff. I have an idea called Wait a Minute. That's another idea that came from a YouTuber who was talking about zines, and she was talking about, zines are a cool alternative to Instagram feeds. She bought a bunch of zines, and instead of scrolling on Instagram before bed, she'll read some mini comics, and there's art there, and you take more time to appreciate the art. You read the stories of people who made the art. You read whatever it is that they feel like writing and expressing, and you get to know, you get to actually take time looking at art, and there's not this like infinite scroll anxiety ridden experience that you have with your phone. For a while you just sit there and enjoy a zine. Maybe you read it twice, maybe you just take your time and read it. You fall asleep, you read a little bit more the next day, whatever. Like, so Wait a Minute is kind of, I don't know, I had a little bit of an idea kind of based on that. um Abstract Awesome. I just wrote that down. Who knows what things will be called, but I've been really interested in like abstract stuff these days. And, you know, I don't know where to express that because, you guys come here to see me talk about comics and get into actual like normal like comic creation. And, you're not necessarily here to see, me talk about abstract art, but that's something that I'm into. So I try to incorporate it into the comics. That's kind of what all this experimental kind of stuff is. But, I could make a little zine about it, and not have to alienate my, people who are here for comics. I can just make a zine, and whoever feels like checking it out, they can check it out. Feels like checking it out. And then again, I mentioned this idea um, earlier called an idea called phone zine, and I actually already kind of started on that. But that's just like imagery that I create on my phone during like lunch breaks and stuff. And here's an example of one of the things I created. I was working on this today and the other day. It's hard to see because it's already kind of an unfocused piece of art. But, it's like Andre the Giant, a famous picture of Andre the Giant. And then there's like some other, weird abstract imagery. But I called it what is Andre Transcendent or something like that. And it's just, it almost looks like, Star Trek, like he's beam me up, Scotty. And it's, it's him and this other guy, and I don't know. It just, I thought it was kind of a fun little thing. So this will go on my, phone zine or whatever. And I was spelling it Fone, like just kind of being all quirky and silly with it, whatever. And just stuff that I create on my phone could suddenly become a zine, and I just thought it'd be cool to like play with imagery when I have like little time instead of scrolling on a feed and feeding an algorithm and being a slave to the algorithm, I'm creating something that will go in print and somebody could buy it and take their time. It's like kind of a way to fight the the kind of social media anxiety, like stuff that's not really good for your mental health. I mean, again, I'm not against social media, I think there's a lot of benefit and interesting things when it comes to that. But you know, I at the same time, I realize that it can be a little bit detrimental to mental health. It could be a lot detrimental to mental health, and I think it's worth kind of pushing back on that a little bit. As much as I'm also going to enjoy it, for what it is, but sometimes it's good to kind of take a break or find ways to push back on it a little bit and have alternatives to that, and remember what it is that made you love and enjoy and sink your teeth and sink your mind and thoughts into art without this kind of weird time suck mentality and this like very short attention span type of mentality. Like I find that I get impatient, if something's not interesting enough, quick enough on TikTok sometimes whenever I'm scrolling on that. That's not good. Like, why can't I just take the time to enjoy a piece of music or art that somebody took the time to create, It's like that's not, I want people to enjoy my stuff and like, I don't know, like why I just think it's a possible way to kind of counteract that a little bit. Again, I'm not against it, but it doesn't hurt to kind of push back a little. It's the same reason why, we don't stay inside. We go take a walk, or we go outside and enjoy something outside for a while. Like it's just healthy to enjoy nature, you know. So yeah. Anyways, that's kind of all I'm going to say about that. I think I've kind of said my piece over and over with that kind of stuff. So let's see. Why don't I need to make comics. Hollow, hollow onion. Well, that's what I'm saying is like you don't necessarily need to make comics to get to making like I'm saying is zines are like a possible different entryway into getting to the point of making comics. Zines are, you know, an interesting way to experiment and practice things that also teach you how to make comics. So the point is like it's not only just making comics that helps you make comics. That obviously is something, and for people who watch this channel, that is kind of the point. That's what we're here to talk about, making comics and inspire people and excite and get into the practice of making comics. But there's even some other like kind of almost ways of tricking yourself into making comics, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of the idea I'm going with here in this little talk here. I always outline the story first, get plot points. I think that's a great way to go. Yeah, I mean certainly a part of writing a story for sure. Sideburns. I don't. I don't. Oh, I don't need to make comics. I'm assuming you don't need. Well, the truth is nobody needs to make comics necessarily, but so there's that too. Dave Hingley got a split. Thanks for the great show, Marsh. Got lots of new things to try. Cool, man. I'm glad you dug it. I had that same haircut, bro. Yeah, the last the last comment of you delayed. Is it from the guy I was drawing, or is it like Dave Hingley in his like strainer hat? uh yeah, so I think that's all I have to say about all that. Please, if you liked this, please subscribe and hit like, and I'll be back with more videos soon. Again, I'm trying to do the more edited, more uploaded videos coming soon. Live streams will always be a part of the mix, but I really want to focus on that stuff. It's just right now my studio isn't set up. I'm trying to get that done this week. And once that's done, I'll be able to shoot actual videos. And there hasn't been a video for 2 weeks. So I was like, I gotta rectify that because I gotta connect with you guys. I feel weird when I haven't connected with you guys for too long, and 2 weeks is too long for me. So, so much more videos to come. We're gonna keep talking about comics. You don't need to make comics, but that's what we do here. And I think zines are a cool way to get yourself into that or back into that, however you want to slice that onion, slice that cake, whatever it is. Oh, thanks, Paul. We missed you. Yeah, man. Like I miss you guys when I don't come on, so that's why I got to get on here and stuff. But thank you everybody for watching. You guys all rock, and I will talk to you on the next one. Have a wonderful week, rest of your week.